Wow, this is one of the most obscure games I've ever played, and I'm saying this in a literal and metaphorical sense. There's a reason that, despite this game's age, Shadow of the Colossus has brought a hefty amount in conversations I've had in recent years. And it's not just that it remains one of the very few PS4 games not to be ported to PC. Bloodborne, quick mention by the way, sorry you guys. But how is this piece of fiction injected into you with a strange and phenomenal imagination? I've always heard good things about it ever since I was young, but Lil Me was always obsessed with games with boss fights, thinking they were the pinnacle of game design. I thought every good game should have a boss. And I was confused why some didn't really have any, with a few exceptions like Mario Party and sports games. It was still strange to me how I've never picked up this game, especially for the PS4 era, thinking it was a brand new game being completely oblivious. From what I used to see clips of, I imagined it centered around scaling titanic beasts, picturing using left to right shoulder and trigger buttons to crawl on their skin and access weak points. Most of the time, it felt like a climbing simulator due to the lack of combat I saw, and the rumors that have been officially confirmed with a quick Google that the game's open world was mostly empty with literally no intended side quests, nothing at all. I wrote off the game because of this, but in a way, it was for the better if you can think about it. I'm glad I played this now instead of 10 years ago, now that I'm at a fully matured age where I had developed a deeper love for the complexity of somewhat simpler games. It's crazy how much of my opinion has shifted and naturally does over time. I think it's just part of being human and how it basically infuriates me how we won't be able to play such a timeless wonder. Many at least won't be able to play such a timeless wonder of the gaming industry. We're basically at an age where attention spans are falling and players would just rather stick to games with guns and balls. While that doesn't really necessarily make up half of the gaming population, don't hate me for it, I still hate to see people hating on things they just don't try or make quick first impressions that sound way too defensive or blatantly picking on the game. I know I'm getting a bit sidetracked, but seriously, can people stop hating for the love of God? I know it's the internet and the world's more miserable than before, but like, people want to live happier and more open-minded lives. Why is hating thinking you're gonna accomplish something with that? Anyways, I picked up a modified PS2 to simply try this game out, but spoiler alert, I opted out because of the low performance rates and the massive frame drops. I'm all about performative gaming and whatnot, but I have limits obviously. I'm not that desperate. So instead, I just emulated the PS3 version. So while it does say I played Shadow of the Colossus and later Eco, I played it on the PC or PS3 emulator to be exact. Now, immediately, the opening of the game basically mesmerizes you with the visual storytelling and angelic music playing over the background. It's from the literal get-go, it's evident to me that this game was going to translate its story and narrative into recurring themes displayed by the soundtrack and the open world. While we are given some backstory to the protagonist's main goal, which is to resurrect his dead sister slash lover, holding a supposed cursed fate by freeing this Dorman guy, slaying 16 colossi on the way with his enchanted sword, there is still a small description of the Forbidden Lands. The minimalism basically sparks curiosity. Most people of this generation would consider something like this to be so contemptuous, but I would refer to these games as a book game. What I mean from a book game is from my experience reading books. I always found the ones easier that I had to imagine the scenes in my head, from huge bodies of text covering up entire pages, all what would lead to just a 16-second scene should it be adapted. For narratives, that just basically means more open and vague storytelling, meaning you're provided not only meaning you had to provide what you can inside your head, but I think that's the beauty of literature. only providing the more important and relevant pieces of information, that it causes a blurry scene on purpose. People will respond to me with, how do you expect us to use our blatant imaginations to translate some seemingly empty and soulless land, devoid of life with remains of old architecture and standing above, below, or near it colossal beings with no purpose but to exist without transparent reasoning? You literally did it right there. That's exactly what I thought of when I was told to summarize this game. This is something I always heard in my mind when I first eyed the game from my backlog this year, and that is ignoring any external product marketing or dev interviews. I find it fun to come up with things from an obscure game, coming up with the story to be exact. That's the beauty of the game. It just feels incomplete because it's supposed to be. A land that was once rich with content and knowledge eradicated and eroded over time to the point where most is lost or never to be recovered. There's no yellow paint, there's no clear dead ends or collision blocks, there's no lore dumping through tiered pages from a journal. All of it, or in this instance, most is gone. Most of it is gone, with you holding the pen to what you really think happened to this land, that will continue to exist long after your character's lifetime. Speaking of which, Wander is an interesting character to look at, implying the same elements and aspects of the Forbidden Lands. We know little about him, other than he has a cursed sister, and he gives off the vibes of sheer determination to conquer the mightiest of challenges, to withstand the death and resurrect her. It's told in a way which leaves things open, allowing the player to interpret his actions and goals to what he believes sounds better in his head, and from a narrative perspective of grief, loss, and sacrifice. I like this style of play because it lets the player fill in the shoes of the wanderer as if they were a part of the main character and following a second-person point of view narrative, immersed into the narrative itself as the character involved. The narrator basically describes what you do and lets you into your own thoughts and background. This is the definition of second-person point of view from Merriam-Webster.com. Now, in a way, the wording of the text along with phrases in ancient and Shakespeare language used in whatever little dialogue there is into the story, it just fits in like a puzzle piece. This is what makes the protagonist not feel like a protagonist at all, or even the opposite. More like an anti-hero. It's about how the reader judges their own actions against colossal beings who are simply doing nothing wrong and only acting aggressive when you attack them in most cases, emphasizing them as nothing but large animals. Most animals would often attack you if they feel threatened or attacked first IRL. So throughout my gameplay, I merely sought most of the colossi as nothing but just large obstacles. I didn't think much as them, but once I skewered online, I noticed that a lot of people actually felt remorseful for their actions. They regretted destroying wonderful creatures minding their own business laying in this land for how long it is, for what could be seen as something as a selfish act. This is a story about right and wrong, another aspect on why I consider this a book game, because most books I've tackled during my high school years have always sparked the debate on who or what was in the right or wrong. It's not all just speculation, but even the devs themselves were probably aware of manipulating us and playing with our emotions as an objective this game needed to do, explained by the soundtrack. Again, when I think of the soundtrack, for me it reminisces of all the Disney movies I used to watch as a kid, fitting in like different scenarios, how the beast would introduce itself on screen, or like a zoomed out shot of a mysterious location slowly zooming in, and then the building of questions along with a certain track. Like The Opened Way, for example. It helps me reminisce of certain scenes where the main character is losing all hope and lost, but he's still clinging on for dear life and showing resilience, and then slowly triumphs over the villains. This is honestly one of my favorite tracks in the soundtrack, but not only my favorite and most memorable, but I also realized a couple of nice catchy tracks as well. But speaking of which, one of the things I noticed is when you are climbing a colossal and you are on the brink of victory, it plays triumphant music, like you're supposed to feel accomplished, but then the moment you kill them and the cutscene plays, it plays a sad and somewhat melancholic track. All of a sudden, you kind of feel cursed, accused, judged. You feel guilty of basically slaying such a wonderful creature. I'm pretty sure there's even like a light motif that plays when you think your horse died in that one section. Spoiler alert, by the way. That's right, there's a composer playing your emotions like strings. Yes, that's practically who this guy was. You have to do all of this basically. You can't just move out of the way. You have to kill them. That's the beauty of this game. This is all linear. There's no other path. There's no way around. Yet, for some reason, people still try and find a way to stop this track, despite having only one ending. Some people will, some people will actually just close the game itself, which is crazy. They seriously feel guilty about slaying such creatures that they just stop playing in general. Do you have to you have to imagine how insane of an impact a game has to be to accomplish something like that? But call me cringe if you want, but again, to be cringe is to be free. But this is exactly why Shadow of the Colossus is an all-timer classic. It's a classic that will never age. Sorry for the stutter. You may be wondering why and how I was able to glaze all of this, but there is still a few icks this game gave me. I played on the PS3, so controls were kind of clunky, same thing with the camera. It had weird but impressive physics at the time, but most of the time it was incredibly annoying where Wander takes 14 business days to get up after getting hit. I swear, it's like he's literally just laying there for sun shading. Again, thanks for watching. I know you didn't expect any of this, to be honest. I kind of freestyled all of this with no script at all, just because I just wanted to talk how impactful the game was to me personally. And I honestly just thank you for watching to the end. That's basically it. That's it. If you really want to see a bit more essays like these, hopefully in the future I can improve with actual scripting and hopefully some better mic adjustment and better gameplay style as soon as I find a new editing software other than Clipchamp. Just feels so bloated. Alright, peace.